Wait, what? For real? Okay. So what I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series of StarCraft 2, where apparently our Protoss player here managed to do his placement matches, and he is now the most terrifying player in Gold League. Playing with the red Protoss probes, we have Haas, and his opponent in this particular best-of-3 with the blue Terran SUVs. We're looking at Spirit, main command center. So this particular series was played at IEM Katowice, and I believe every single one of the players got given a fresh new account to play the tournament with, right? So that way everybody has the default skins. Obviously the tournament organizers don't have to mess with any of the friends. Everything is very obvious, right? You obviously can't be receiving any PMs or any messages from other players while you're playing games, right? For obvious reasons. So usually what they do is they start with fresh accounts, and then they have the players... Okay, they have the players import their hotkey profile. Now, apparently Haas, at least judging by that loading screen, decided to do his placement matches. So this is certainly the most menacing man in all of Gold League, because I think it's fair to say that Haas is not only the most aggressive pro gamer, he's also certainly the most creative pro gamer too. The thing is though, sometimes he tends to struggle against players that are really good when it comes to playing a standard match of StarCraft 2, and Spirit certainly is in that category. Anyhow, Haas started off this game by building a pylon in the back of his own natural expansion, and now he's decided to go for a gateway right over here as well. Probably in the hopes that the opponent would go and scout him. Oh, we decided to steal a gas right now too. Anyways, nothing scouted here by Spirit whatsoever. He's now gonna finally send an SCV across. There's a chance, of course, that Spirit is gonna get a little bit confused. The problem for Haas is that he's got that image of being a bit of a cheeser. He's got that image of being a bit of a wild card. And usually players will play a little bit safer than they absolutely need to, just because they know that they're playing against Haas. Ooh, okay. Now the reason why I wanted to cast this particular series is because of that little move right over there. I've brought it up in a few previous commentaries as well. Every single time we see the gold base mining on Royal Blood, I keep thinking of the game where Haas decided to go for the gold base from the opposite side. So he decided to cancel the pylon because it would be blocking a potential nexus that can indeed come up here very, very soon. What exactly has Spirit seen so far? A whole lot of nothing. So Spirit is looking around the map right now, a little bit confused. He didn't see the gateway. He's probably not gonna find out about this nexus either. Other than this, I haven't actually seen the game. I don't think. Maybe I did watch it like while I was in the green room at IEM Katowice, but I don't remember actively watching the game. But at some point, I remember looking at the screen, and the gold base. It's mining from the wrong side. I absolutely love this though. So normally, right, this would be where you place the nexus down, right over, well, on top of this little carpet, I would imagine. Although that doesn't seem quite right. Anyhow, usually you mine that from that side, because you can then actually also use the gas geyser. Haas doesn't need the gas geyser over here. As a matter of fact, he stole one of the assimilators of his opponent. He's now going for a Twilight Council as well. That robo facility is gonna chrono out a observer first. Okay, and now we're gonna go into an Immortal 2. Reaper Scout, okay. Brilliant little scout right here from Spirit. Reaper does indeed spot that this nexus now is building over here on the left side of the map, but the problem is, what exactly do you do? Excuse me, what exactly do you do against this sort of thing when you scout it when it's already finishing up? Okay, here's the nexus done. We're gonna, I think, recall, yeah, about half the mineral line worth of workers. Immortal pops out as well, out of that robo facility, and now Haas suddenly has a booming economy. Now, I love this little build. I've seen Haas do something similar a few times before. Basically, right, you go for a very greedy gold base, and then you at the same time also cheese. So you're playing both a greedy, cheesy game, but you're also playing a greedy, economical game. And you can obviously use that economical boost right now to your advantage by warping in more units on your opponent's side of the map. And if the opponent can't attack you, obviously you can mine the golden minerals. Now, there are already a couple of these bunkers set up. Spirit apparently more than keen to just sit back here. He's now going for an NG bay as well. I can imagine that's probably for detection. Getting some missile turrets out is certainly very helpful. As you can see, he does have some energy saved up in these orbitals as well. That's not a mistake. He just, yeah, is making sure that he's gonna be able to scan just in case there's a Dark Templar showing up. Prism in the back right now. Okay. That Observer is in a pretty curious position as well. Stalker and an Immortal. Alright. Needs to be careful. There's a siege tank up in the main base. It got rid of that gas guys that the Protoss player stole. But now it also shot at those Protoss units. So it needs to be very, very cautious. Dark Templar are indeed going to be the name of the game right here for Haas. Who's been happily, by the way, improving his threshold right here in this game. He's just happily sitting here. Chrono boosting out, I would imagine, at least a couple of times this charge upgrade. So with the charge upgrade, with the Prism, you can start putting on a lot of pressure. I was wondering how many gateways he's gonna go for. So he's got 5 more coming up. He's already got 3. 3 plus 5, I know, crazy math, in a video. It's 8. 8 is a massive indicator that the Protoss player wants to go all in. The only reason why you would go for 8 gateways on 2 bases is if you want to go for an all-in. Spirit at this point doesn't know what he's playing against. All he's seen is the golden base and he's seen the nickname of his opponent, and honestly that may just be enough. Getting a supply depot, not bad. He's gonna get, well, at least some damage done on that second supply depot too. It finishes and it immediately starts burning. Some sort of construction problem over there, I'm sure. Love the way though that this wall is being set up here by Spirit. Spirit is just pumping out as many units as possible. Going for the Stimpack research, going for the combat shields. Both of those upgrades will finish up in about a minute or so, and well, that's gonna give him a very nice army to defend his main base with, because I've got a feeling we should see quite a bit of aggression. Are we gonna use the Dark Templar alone, or are we gonna morph them into Archons? Okay, yeah. So, it's a 2-base Archon Immortal Zealot push, with one of the bases being the gold. Now notice here, these golden minerals really don't have a lot of juice. They actually run out very quickly. Oh my god, he decides to just straight up commit right there on that very first bunker. Bunker does go down. His Immortals are very much so helping out. Spirit forced to pull the probes, or, well, the SCVs, I guess, the Terran probes, away from their mineral lines too. Medevac comes out. Immortals did close the distance right there to that one siege tank, but honestly, not a bad fight here whatsoever for Hasto. I actually really quite like this. He needs to be careful he does not overextend. Keep in mind, he doesn't really need to fight in this position. Okay, Cyclone ends up going down as well. He's trying to bait out those SCVs once more. Perfect force fields over there, by the way. Really nicely done. Ooh, another really good one. That Widowmine being an absolute betrayer of the Terran army. Tons of SCVs end up going down. Haas now finds himself with an overwhelming advantage. 37 probes versus only 25 SCVs. Okay. I think this is the time, Haas. I think this is the time you take your Nexus. Right on that beautiful little awkwardly... They changed the carpet, by the way. Remember I was shouting about the carpets on this particular map for about, well, every single cast that I did? They've changed the carpet. Let me actually pause for just a second to explain the carpet change. Remember those, like... We had, like, these Aladdin-shaped... Remember the carpets with, like, the little... It was a different shape. Turns out that if you burrowed a Widowmine on top of the carpets, it was literally invisible. Normally, a Widowmine would leave a little hole in the ground that you could see as the opponent to indicate that there's a Widowmine there. Turns out if you burrowed it on the carpets that we had on this map previously, I'm assuming they all got replaced. Yeah, we all just have these, okay. No. They all just have the same shape now, but it turns out if you tried to burrow a Widowmine on there, it would literally be invisible, so... That's the reason I changed it, not because I thought it was ugly. At the very least, I don't think I have that level of influence. I'm gonna unpause the game once again. There's your carpet trivia for the day. Ooh, okay. The Widowmines are actually dealing a lot of damage, though. They've done a lot of damage as well to the Marines. I think we need to, like... I would not mind it at all if he wants to win the game right now. I would not mind it at all if he decides to go for a Nexus. Well, you know what? He may be right. Another siege tank gets targeted down. One of the Immortals sadly ended up falling too. So that makes this push a little bit harder. Okay. Haas moving that Observer to the site. This is something that Haas does very frequently though, where I feel like he's going a little too far. Like, rather than warping in 4 more Zealots, they're probably just gonna get killed, right? Oh, yeah, that fight was horrible. When the Widowmine count grows like that, now suddenly Spirit is feeling offensive as well. He decides to pull the boys. Okay, he wants to get the Prism. That's not gonna happen. Good control right there by Haas. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. 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 Spirit. I would imagine that's a mistake. Okay, yeah. Pause, please. Wrist. Go, go. Alright, maybe having, not exactly sure what the problem is there. Anyways, maybe having a little bit of an issue. I don't think he was intending on dropping a mule on his opponent's army. That is considered very bad-mannered in a game of StarCraft 2, in case you're not aware of the StarCraft 2 etiquette. Dropping mules on your opponent's army is considered a little toxic. It is done, of course, every once in a while when you feel like your opponent is overstaying their welcome, but I don't think the advantage is that big that Spirit is shouting at his opponent, get out of my game. As a matter of fact, I really like the position that Haas was in earlier, but like I said, Haas likes to sometimes overcommit a little bit. Now this is a nice little push. He's killed so many workers, by the way. Yeah, 41. He's killed 41 SCVs in this game. Good control, man. His prison micro is still very solid. In the meantime, by the way, ooh, there's a little marine drop over here. Dark Templar are not only good offensively, they're also pretty good at slicing up those marines defensively. And now suddenly, though, Spirit's army supply is growing rapidly. Yeah, looks like the medevac drop right here on the left side of the map also got rid of a lot of the workers. And just like that, after being very far ahead, it's Haas who taps out. There it is. The most menacing Gold League player in the world. Game number 1. Excellent one from Haas. Honestly, I think he would have won that game if he decided to expand. So when he first killed the 20-something SCVs, I think it would have been a brilliant moment for him to not warp in like 8 additional Zealots, but warp in like 4 and then also build an additional Nexus. Yeah. That gold base obviously would run out, and playing against Spirit in a macro game is still very scary, but when Terran has that many defensive units, right, be it in bunkers, but be it Widow Mines, there were still a few siege tanks available as well. Those SCVs can soak up a lot of damage. It's very easy to accidentally overextend against a really good player, right? I think in Haas's mind, though, he probably practiced that build quite a bit. And everybody who he played against, yeah, they probably lost at that particular moment in the game. Spirit, a little bit too good. Spirit has been playing on the European server for years and years and years, and there's a lot of aggressive Zerg players and Terran players and Protoss players on the European server. This man, he's been defending for a long time. He's very good at just not dying, which sounds like an easy StarCraft 2 skill to have, but if you've ever tried playing the game, generally speaking, it's much easier to be the aggressor than it is to be the defensive player. You need to be so on point with your unit positioning and your micro and all that. As the aggressor, at least it usually feels a little bit more straightforward. Anyhow, game number 2, we find ourselves on Dragon Scales, and well, this time around, no fancy positioning right there on that very first pylon and the gateway. This is nothing out of the ordinary. Cybercore also coming up in a very good spot. Generally, Spirit likes playing that macro game, right? Spirit is the kind of guy who will happily play a 30-minute game if he has to, every single game that he plays. Now, obviously, there are matches like the previous one where he can win before that, but he certainly is not afraid to play a very long macro game. Haas really is a man of extremes, so either he plays incredibly cheesy, at least in the games that I've seen him play. He either plays incredibly cheesy, where he goes for like proxies and just hyper-aggression from start to finish, or if he plays a quote-unquote normal game, he tends to play the extreme macro instead. So we've seen Haas play up to like 100 probes in the past, where he's just chrono boosting out worker after worker after worker, and then he's taking almost like a Zerg-like approach, right? He's, yeah, just warping in tons of units to try and overwhelm the opponent, and it really does work quite well. Because after that previous game, right, Spirit is probably thinking, okay, this guy, he's feeling pretty cheesy. I'm gonna go ahead and play a normal game once again. Which means that Haas can certainly cut corners if he wants to. So far everything is normal. But we could definitely see a very quick 3rd Nexus out of him. We could even see a quick 4th Nexus out of him. Because Spirit is not really the kind of guy who will get very aggressive in a game like this. Starport coming up right now. Stargate also coming up on the other side of the map. So both players are transitioning towards some flying units. Spirit going for some Hellions here. We'll have to see how many he decides to go for. But yeah, I can imagine that the action is probably gonna be primarily on Haas in a game like this. Widow Mine's right now on the back of it too, okay. So I'm imagining we're gonna see a medevac out of this starport just to test the waters. Medevac drops even at this level of play, they still tend to deal a lot of damage. It happens all the time where someone gets a little bit, yeah, sidetracked or blindsided or, yeah, there's just too much multitasking going on and then an entire mineral line still blows up. At the tippity top of the skill level, not as common, but Spirit is certainly looking to go ahead and get it done against Haas. So, Haas decides to go for Phoenixes here. Now, Phoenixes are an excellent option if you want to play a more macro-focused game. Usually, Phoenixes are followed up with Colossi, but we see additional gateways here, so we'll see exactly what Haas decides to go for. Are we not gonna use that chrono? He used only about half of that chrono. That's a little surprising. Anyhow. Only 2 Phoenixes. That is funny to me. Probe is thinking about making a 3rd Nexus, it seems. One of the Hellions now gets lifted off. Okay. Nexus does start up and Spirit scouts it right away. Here's that Widowmine drop going into the main base. There's already a shield battery, but that's not really going to help you out too much. Okay. Yeah, still not a huge fan of that, right? Like, it's such a common build that I feel like a lot of Protoss players tend to cut it too close. Maybe I'm mistaken, but it still happens so frequently that players just take so much damage from these Widowmines. Now, don't get me wrong, this was a very respectable amount, but that still was close to being a disaster, right? That was still close to being a massive problem right there for Protoss. Widowmine drop right now in the natural. No reaction. No reaction. And those sorts of mistakes you really can't make. Especially not against someone like Spirit. Haas is very much so the kind of guy... Oh, actually, I messed up the scoreboard. Sorry about that. Haas is very much so the kind of guy who leans heavily on his early game going well. So now that his early game hasn't gone all too well, Spirit could start executing very basic attacks if he wants to. I wouldn't mind seeing this man just go for a standard bio push here. So he's decided to go for an NG Bay. We now see 2 additional barracks. These 2 barracks will probably get tech labs on them. We go Stimpak, we go combat shields, we go +1 infantry weapons. We hit the opponent in the face as soon as those upgrades finish up. Now, we still have quite a bit of time. Ooh, okay. We still have quite a bit of time. And I think Haas has decided, you know what? Playing a normal game from here is going to be kind of difficult. So instead he decides to go for a Twilight Council and he researches glaives. Okay. I don't mind the glaives, but it certainly feels very all-in-y. Normally, glaives are played as a timing attack. And this is no longer really a timing attack, right? So we do have quite a bit of bio, by the way, on the other side of the map, too. Those Cyclones kill a bunch of workers. Okay, I think this is Haas actually accepting the fact that he's not in a very good spot in this game at all. So, yeah, I think he's just looking to see if he can actually snipe all of these units. That would be quite nice. Yeah, he doesn't have enough yet, though. Like, not to properly overwhelm this anyways. Okay, now the Phoenixes come back as well. They take a lot of damage. Oh, an additional Cyclone comes across. I don't know if I entirely agree with that move. As long as it can get out, I suppose it's fine. You know what? Giving away those units is actually rather expensive. Yeah. He killed 4 workers or so, sure. He did obviously kill some Adepts there and a couple of Phoenixes too, but I don't think that trade was quite ideal. Then again, he probably did not expect a bunch of Glaved Adepts to show up at this point. Okay, Protoss decided to go across the map through the left side of the map, and it's gonna start putting down a pylon here. Okay. Okay, yeah. Now, Spirit realizes what he's playing against right now. It's a bit of a funky build, but he's setting up an additional layer to his wall. I do think that's a great idea. That's so many Adepts. Gateway even coming up here too, so that once again, that means that Haas is ready, man. Haas is ready to start piling on the pressure. He has been rebuilding some workers, so maybe initially he was planning on playing that mass macro game, right? That mass Nexus play, but he doesn't really have much of a transition though, right? Like there's no, I mean, you could go Blink obviously, you could go Charge as well. 2 medevacs full of units are leaving the main base of the Terran player, which is a little bit dangerous. But the full wall now has been completed. Even a Ghost Academy is part of that full wall here too. Haas is gonna have to commit, no? Okay. Love the fact that Spirit is unloading the Marines over here. That means they can stimp forward. There's only one Stalker in this area. Now the Adepts go forward, though, and the supply depot has actually not been raised. So suddenly, these units appear. At the same time, a lot of damage is being done, and I think that's going to be the end of that third Nexus. But we'll keep the camera right here on this shenanigans right over here. How in the world are we gonna break through this? Well, you can just attack move. Yeah, you can just attack move on top of a supply depot. Nexus indeed has been destroyed. Now the rest of the bio units are thinking about going into the natural. Okay, good move right there. Shield battery immediately denied. Probes desperately trying to join in the battle as well. Additional adepts on the other side of the map too. But that supply depot, it still holds. And as long as that... Oh, okay. Oh, planetary fortress over here. I actually really quite like that. As long as that supply depot holds, the game is actually going to be difficult to win right now for the Protoss player at this point in time. That was the original intent, I believe, but planetary finishes up. I love that. I've shouted at many, many Terran players who went for a planetary fortress at their natural or at their third base. There are scenarios where it's a good idea, and in this particular case, I actually don't mind it. Spirit going for the safety command center, right? Now he's got a safe haven here. Adepts are so clumped up that they would take a lot of splash damage from that planetary fortress. Plus their DPS is not that great in the first place. Okay, Ghosts are coming up. So Ghosts versus Adepts, it's not something we commonly see, but you can catch a lot of Adepts within one of those EMPs. And honestly, that's basically half of the Protoss army gone with one EMP. Okay, he decides to actually commit it right on top of that Terran Bioforce right before the Ghosts do come out. Is there enough available right now for Haas to break through that? EMP from the high ground, Medivacs out of energy, so they apparently decide to go on a lunch break. But Haas realizes that he does not have enough stuff. And because of that, it's Spirit who obtains the victory 2-0.